policy analyst. Thank you very much for joining us. He is with the Africa Policy Institute. We also have Jack Tuma, who is a former ECK commissioner. Thank you very much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
All right, so a lot has been happening and we have quite a lot of things to talk about. But first of all, one of the things that is on very many Kenyans' mouths right now is President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga saying that they will not be attending the presidential debate. They've given quite a number of reasons, but the solid one that we've had so far is that there have not been any consultations between, the parties and the organizers of the event. From where you sit, how do you feel? Why do you think this came up just a few days to 10th of July when the first debate was supposed to be held?
Thank you, Betty. One of the problems that has arisen is in deciding, first of all, who was to attend the presidential debate. Once they came up with a threshold of people who have met a certain pollster 5% requirement, then now the issue was because only 2 people qualified for that.
Yes.
So the question was what kind of format and structure would the debate take place in?
Yeah.
And I think both sides are concerned about the nature of questions that will be asked. Many of them don't want to be pigeonholed in a situation where they cannot manage to wriggle out of a difficult situation. So quite a bit of consultations needed to have been done with both sides in terms of setting up the structure, who's going to moderate, how much time each has, those kind of issues. And I think that was not properly done, and that's why they're raising the concerns they're raising. Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Mr. Tomo, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this one. One of the reasons that we've had from the Jubilee side is that they feel that the president will have a lot of idle time if, all the candidates, are put on the same podium, that, he will not have the time. Probably, in the 90 minutes debate is going to probably have maybe 10 minutes collectively. And he's the head of state, and he will be standing there, idly, just, waiting for the other people to bring out their thoughts. What do you think of this? Should he have
As one of the 40 million Wanjikus,
yes,
I feel very disappointed that we are getting a stage where perhaps this debate will not take place. This is the only opportunity that me, as Wanjiku, have an opportunity through the media to talk to whoever would be my president. Normally, they talk at us, but this is the only opportunity that we are going to have for us to talk to them, to hear what they say and be able to ask questions. Having said that, I'm aware that it is difficult to know exactly who to believe, because the organizers of the conference are saying there was sufficient consultation, they were invited. Now, on the other side, they are telling us there hasn't been sufficient consultation, and the presidential group is saying they were not invited. It is so difficult for us to know who is telling us the truth. But be as it is, I would really have liked a situation where we get an opportunity. I'm hoping and praying that between now and Monday, there will be sufficient consultation, and they will persuade those 8 to come forward. Of course, what my brother said about the timing, it is a real concern. I expect that when these people come to talk to us, they will be given sufficient time so that they can tell us in detail, in some good detail, what they plan to do for us. Now, giving each 5, 10, 20 minutes, really, I think it is injustice. So, with the format is something of concern. Perhaps instead of going for the 5% we are talking about, they could have said that, fine, let's have those who have been there before. Okay? Those who have had an opportunity to, during the 2013, to come up, have a first go, and then the others can come later on. I mean, when you go to school, you start from standard 1, then you go to 2, dawn, and so forth. So really, I think it is a real concern that they won't be given sufficient time to elaborate on what they are supposed to have told us.
All right.
Yeah.
There are 8 presidential candidates, and as we talk right now, there's a case that we're expecting a ruling tomorrow on whether they should all be on one platform, or the two top contenders should be given their time on their own, and then the rest their time on their own. And there are quarters that are saying it is discriminatory to have this 2 categories of people. What do you think should really happen? Should we have the 2 top contenders, coming together head to head, and then the rest maybe another time where they can also bring out their agenda?
Yes, I think the threshold they put, actually, if you are to look at it objectively, is a very low threshold of 5%. If we look at the home of presidential debates, which is the United States.
Yes.
They have a commission on presidential debates which has set a threshold of 15%, which is much higher than ours. And we have seen in the past that only 2 candidates from the 2 dominant parties usually meet that threshold. So it is good to give the other candidates who do not meet the threshold a forum, but I think it might be a bit unfair to the 2 leading candidates to be getting similar airtime with those that do not command such a large following as they do. And also going back to the issue of the content of the debate, the office of the office of the president is a substantive office, and I think what some of the issues that were raised by Mr. Morade in regard to getting into a shouting match might be something that the office of the president might not want to be engaged in, going to those levels. So they would be very interested in knowing the kind of structure and format that the debate will follow. And for this reason, I think the organizers do have a point in dividing the 2 groups, but also I think they should also give a lot of leeway to the 2 candidates because they have a lot at stake, and they would need to be intricately involved in the planning of these two debates.
Interesting.
Yes.
Two way, you see, I'm a little hesitant of thinking of, we put the 2 there. And this is why I'm bringing in Dida, having appeared during the 2013 election. So that perhaps there is some neutralization.
But he doesn't have the 5%. He does not have the 5%. Actually, he has 0.1%.
5%, whatever percent, is administrative. It is not legal. And perhaps the whole thing goes back to our laws. Like we've said, president is a big office. It's a substantive place. You really don't want every other person to go in. So perhaps we need to start thinking of ways and the means of assessing who comes up to this level. Because it costs money, it costs the taxpayers money for us to keep pushing this, bringing these people to these positions. So we have to have some legal means, which says, in the future, we shall have, the threshold will be such, so that those who are left out know it is a legal requirement.
Right.
But as it is now, I can walk from the street, go and register, and want to contest against, for a debate with the heavyweights.
Yes, with the heavyweights.
Yes.
And there are quarters that are saying, these people, nobody has seen, the leaders and the courts, going into the mashinani and, campaigning. And, there are quarters that are saying, are they waiting for this national platform as the only way, to campaign? Because we're not feeling them on the ground talking to the Wananchi.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. This debate is supposed to command one of the largest audiences at one single moment because I believe all the key stations are beaming at the same time. So it is an unprecedented platform for them to put their message across, but perhaps at the expense of the other 2 leading candidates because they command a substantial lead and a substantial following. And to put them at the same level as those who command less than 5% might be unfair. On these 2 who have... by the way, those numbers they have generated are not as a result of just their names. It's as a result of what you've just said. They have been on the ground. Campaigning hard, trying to get that following. So when it comes to now advancing their message to a larger platform at one time, these fringe candidates seem to be gaining an undue advantage over them.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Using the debate as a strategy to win, I think it is a wrong strategy. Because I want to believe that a big portion of the Kenyans have decided whether to vote for this or the other. I think they are looking for a small group, the swing votes.
Yes.
That could be used to be swayed using this debate. But for someone to hope that he will come on a televised debate and swing people to vote for him is very unfortunate. I don't think it will work. Talking about they are going out to campaign, you know, campaigning is very costly. And I really sympathize with these other groups because they have to fund, they have to look for resources to go out to campaign. I look at the two giants, the incumbent has got a huge advantage of using public resources. And I think the public has been complaining every other time that there is extensive use of public resources for campaigning. Look at the NASA group. I think they have got some ways of making money, so they can go out and campaign. Now, these other people, unless perhaps in the future also we look at ways of assessing those we bring who will be above a certain threshold and assist them to campaign, it is very difficult.
It's difficult. All right, I want us to move the conversation now to the IEBC. And there's a very interesting conversation. Yesterday, the day before yesterday, NCIC came up with a list of places where they deem will be hotspots for violence come August. And there are parties that are saying, you know what, apart from the politicians who probably are making inflammatory statements across the country, IEBC also could be at the center of anything that would go wrong because of the issues that they're dealing with. And one of it is the register. Many Kenyans feel like they have not, and even the opposition has come out to say we want to see, you know, the final register. What has KPMG done so far? But IEBC up until now very wishy-washy about, you know, publishing that register. What impact will that have, and what should IEBC do?
Well, IEBC has removed some names from the register, and they claim that some have not been removed for various reasons.
Yes.
Some being that legally there's a requirement that perhaps you need to return your ID. They need to confirm these deaths. And also, one thing we also have to be cognizant of is that the register will need to be continuously cleaned until the last day because people are dying every day. So we will not have the perfect register, even if we did want. So the issue is not really whether those voters, dead voters are on the register or not. I think it has more to do with how we monitor that these dead voters do not arise and vote on voting day. I think that is key because up until the last day, there will still be some on the register who are not alive. So in terms of KPMG, I do not know what their confidentiality arrangement is with IEBC. So I would suspect that they would be reluctant to come into the public domain to hand over parts of the report which they are officially supposed to hand over just to IEBC itself.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to hear your thoughts.
IEBC Betty finds itself between what I would call a hard place and a rock. Lots of the problems IEBC is finding itself in are not of their own making. IEBC came up with the timelines, most of which have now been messed up. We are actually operating late for everything. Like now, the other day, the Chief Justice said, why should IEBC continue printing when we have got cases in court?
Yes.
It is a very critical thing. What is IEBC supposed to do? Now, if these cases go up to 8th, 9th of next month, IEBC has to be seen to be doing something to enable Kenyans to have elections on 8th of August. So it is very difficult because of these forces that are coming from out. They were supposed to gazette the names before the printing started. Okay? That didn't happen. They are supposed to, the register, I heard it this morning, the Chiloba saying that you can download the name, the particulars of the KPMG if you need to. It means they have published it. It means it's available. But there are so many things that really we are making it very difficult for IEBC to operate. And yet we expect that elections have to be held. We should give IEBC some room to be able to operate. The cases that the Chief Justice talked about, my thinking is if someone is cleared too late, I would rather that IEBC leaves that particular section out and they can have election after 8th of August, other than have these 3, 4, 5 people delay the whole process so that we have no elections.
But at the same time, IEBC also sometimes puts itself in the position that, you know, all these issues. And remember, even just a few weeks ago, we had the contention at the Court of Appeal, and IEBC was at the center of it when they were seeking advice on that ruling by the High Court on whether the presidential results at the constituency level are final. So as much as, you know, they have pressure from, you know, different people, even within themselves, they still have room to battle things out in court. I
fully agree with you. I think that was a mistake for IPC to have appealed that case. I think it was a big mistake because after the court ruled, and as I say, this question of the results being final is not something new. We started it in 1997 when I joined the ECK. You know, prior to that, the ballot papers, people balloted at the polling station. The ballot papers were carried to the DC's office, and they were counted there. We said, no, this is not right. Let's come up and have the people balloting. The counting should be done at the polling station so that everybody knows that it is the people who came to vote whose votes have been counted. Now, that was the start of the progress. We have come until such a time we are saying now, the announcement, you count and you announce, and that is final. To me, that is very logical. So I agree with you that I think it was a big mistake for IEBC to waste its time appealing for that court.
All right. Yeah. Going back to the issue to do with dead voters, should the opposition really be worried? Because Chebukati came out and said, even if we still have, you know, names of dead voters on the register, you still have the KIMS, the electoral management system that will rule out any dead person from actually voting. Yes. So with that fact, should the opposition really be worried, and Kenyans in general?
I think it's, of course, everybody's worried about tampering. But the response from IEBC makes a lot of sense because they do have this Kenya integrated electoral management system in place, which is supposed to weed out this kind of thing. So what they're doing is reassuring you that even if some of this were to slip through, and like I want to re-emphasize, it will continue. The issue will continue until voting day, because there are some who will, unfortunately, pass on just even a day before voting. So this system is supposed to be able to capture and weed out any such incidences occurring. So there has been cause for concern, and it's obviously a natural issue that should be raised. But I think the response we've gotten from IEBC so far has been reasonable enough that we can give them a benefit of doubt. IEBC has also, on a number of occasions, invited both sides, especially of the two large parties, and all the political people involved in the new election dispensation coming up, to send monitors, whether it's to Dubai to monitor the printing of the ballot papers, or it is to go and examine their integrated election management system. Africa Policy Institute ourselves have held a forum whereby we had the people from IEBC who run, it's called the Maendeleo Forum that ran with UNDP. And the people came from IEBC, from the IT department, and took us step by step through the preparations they have made. And many people were very surprised to find the detail that they have gone into. Maybe what IEBC should be doing is elaborating a little bit more in detail what they have done to put up firewalls against this kind of tampering and hacking and all that.
Yes.
Because I think it's a genuine concern, especially in this age of cybersecurity issues coming up. So while it is a genuine concern, I do not think it will be a major disruption to the election process.
To the election process.
Yes, yes.
As a former ACK commissioner, and of course you've been following what IEBC has been doing for the last couple of months, do you feel like they're well prepared to deliver a credible election that will not be challenged, that people will not poke holes? Like, you know, remember a few weeks to the election, this was happening. Do you feel like IEBC is in that position right now?
I think they are doing their best under very, very difficult circumstances. Take the register you're talking about. It is extremely difficult to say you will have 100% erasure of the dead voters. Because we don't have records. Where do they get the records? You get them from the register of death. You pick them from when we